Welcome to the March episode of Amiga Ireland. It's our first since our show in January. I'm Irla.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Luke.
And a massive thanks to everybody who participated in our last event there in January. We had some lovely talks and presentations at it. There was some incredible artwork submitted as well. And a really nice atmosphere, thanks to everybody who attended. It's really appreciated. It was so enjoyable, and it went on way longer at the small hours. Even I wasn't the last person to leave.
Virtual pub.
Yeah, the virtual pub. Whoever suggested that, I think there was a couple of people.
Basically everyone.
Yeah, and I know as well some people bought a ticket just to support us, so that didn't go unnoticed. So thanks to those who did that. Yeah, I hope we have a chance to meet again soon. I saw people working on hardware there, minding their kids, relaxing on the couch, playing games in their Amigas. That was cool. Everybody was kind of streaming or screen sharing in their individual Zoom windows. So there was some people making music. There was artists. Actually, there was people there I didn't even know were artists, digital artists, drawing and painting on it. Incredible. We wrote over 2,000 lines of nonsense in the text chat. All deleted now, unfortunately, but it was great.
We should have archived that.
Yeah, there was some very funny stuff in there, I have to say. I might try and remember some of the more memorable quotes if I can. But it was good fun, guys. Did you enjoy it? Did you get to stick around for much of it?
I was there for the whole lot, of course. Yeah, it was fantastic, and it worked, I think, as well as we could have hoped for, you know.
Right, so some highlights for this month's episode. New Amiga hardware. There's a dual-stick game controller, prototype already out, and the Solace project, a lighting and fan control system for Amiga.
We look at the reverse engineering projects for Commodore CPUs.
And the Copper Dragon, Amiga Digital Video Project.
So we've got our news section coming up and our gaming sections following it. But just before we get into it, guys, I haven't been talking to you since January. How are you doing?
It's hard to know even what month it is now. But yeah, been busy with the day job. And yeah, I think I have this potentially the final revision of the Solace board done now. And it's up and running. And so happy enough with that, I think. So I think it's time to roll out to some beta testers, see how it gets on, and so that's been keeping me busy. I also got my hands on a super rare accelerator, courtesy of Terrible Fire. So this is a Terrible Fire 1260 that I have here. So it's just for testing. It is going to be an extremely limited run of things because he's kind of not interested in the scene as such anymore. But yeah, so I've got one here because he lives just up the road from me. Probably no other reason. But yeah, it's a lovely little board, a simple, no nonsense accelerator. And yeah, so I've been playing with that, putting that through its paces. And yeah, so between that and the Solace, that's been keeping me busy.
Well, I've nothing really positive to say about February. I had 4 wisdom teeth removed.
Oh God.
And, yeah, I know some people. I was talking to somebody just last night, actually, Kenny, who runs the SWAS competition, and he had 4 wisdom teeth taken out in one go, and they were impacted like mine were as well. And he was grand. He said he had no problems. He just went on about his life. But I had 2 separate surgeries. I got 2 out on the right, then 2-week break, and 2 out on the left. And each time I was just on the couch for a week. I just couldn't. Just couldn't life. So yeah, I'm glad that's all behind me now. I can open my jaw now. I've just started eating solids again as of yesterday, and yeah, looking forward to pretending it all never happened.
It's a funny thing because one of my wisdom teeth just broke a couple of days ago. So I'm just gonna probably looking for like a dentist or something to and I'm just gonna have like that one removed. So I think we're getting older, well, to be honest. So that's talking about teeth. And regarding other stuff, just busy with the usual stuff, just busy with the retro ready, just preparing orders, sending parcels, and then not much of a time to do anything else, to be honest.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let's see how rusty we are and move on to the news. First up, Miss Mad Lemon is in the New York Times talking about retro computing. It's very surprising to see a known name in the New York Times. They have an article called The Impractical But Indisputable Rise of Retro Computing, and it talks about all the platforms, including Amiga, that have taken off in recent years. And Maddie talks about the light side and the shadow side of the Amiga communities. And she's the only one I've heard of actually acknowledge kind of both sides of these kind of things. And it was really interesting reading what she had to say in a very kind of frank way. And, you know, being a woman in tech and all that. And she also talks about getting into music at a young age after her brother got an Amiga, and goes on to talk about some other stuff that I suppose I won't go and spoil it. But we've got the link here, and it's well worth a read.
The Amiga Ireland 2021 YouTube playlist has been updated or uploaded. So all the scheduled events that we had all the scheduled items that we had at the events they're now up online on the Amiga Ireland channel. The link is in the show notes.
Andrew McLeod has started a new blog, and it's called Amiga for Mortals. A pretty interesting read with the newest read about joysticks, actually, how to build your own joystick, how to create it, how to make it work, and then I look forward to his articles. So have a look.
Yeah, a big theme of our events is accessibility, you know, to get people onto that first rung of the ladder regarding whatever it is they want to get into. So I really like that that's happening. The Amiga Ireland 2021 competition is complete, and the prize winners have received their prizes via PayPal, or should have. In the mod category, congrats to Punik, Banjo Gaiali, Alex Menchi, ADKD, Myron Schmidt, Okeanos, Uberfox, and Barkbit. And pixel art, congrats to Eric Hill, Matty Whittle, Vasilis Somiadis, Douglas Compton, Aris Amiga and TLF. And in the 3D, congrats to Anthony Jarvis, Clearcos, Gorgagini, and TLF. It was really, really nice. And we're working on a really nice webpage for the artistic stuff.
Yeah, some fantastic entries this year. It was all great stuff. Copper Dragon has released an Amiga digital video project. And now this is a great little thing, and this is basically an adapter board that allows you to connect a Raspberry Pi Zero to the digital video signals that are inside your Amiga. What that does is then it takes those signals and converts them to HDMI using a little bit of software on the Pi, and out comes your Amiga signal in full HD. Well, obviously at the low resolution, but upscale to HD. So this is an amazing little thing, and it's just because the Pi Zero is a very cheap bit of hardware, and the adapter isn't going to be particularly expensive either. So it's just a great little use for these cheap little boards, and it uses the digital signals directly, so you're not getting any quality loss through the analog conversion or the analog digital conversion like you would be with some other adapters. And it's pretty no nonsense thing, and it's a great little bit of hardware. So at the moment it supports OCS and ECS, so it fits as a little sort of piggyback onto the Denise chip, or with a little adapter that goes with the Denise chip, or it can go to the video slot on the big box Amigas. Now, it doesn't support AGA, so if you do use it in one of the big box in a 4000, for example, you won't get your full color resolution, but it will still work with the 12-bit color that, you know, of the OCS ECS palette. But yeah, this is a great project, and you'll find, because it's an open source thing, so we've got a link to the GitHub there. But you find a lot of people will be selling the various adapters for different machines before very long, because it's an incredibly useful bit of kit.
Brilliant. Backers have started receiving demos in the Amiga years, and this is a really interesting thing. This publication showcases influential demos, so I'm sure it's a pretty stylish thing. So if you are into a demo scene and demos, why not have a look down there? And that's that.
And something I've been looking for a while now is a Markdown editor for Amiga. And something cropped up on AmiNet just after I had said that. I think in a previous podcast, I got very excited, but it's actually for OS4, which I'm not running yet until I get an A1222. So unfortunately, I can't use it. But for anybody who's looking for a good Markdown editor, there's one available for Amiga OS now, which is great.
Solas, an Amiga lighting and fan control system, was demoed at Amiga Ireland event, and it was actually like a live demonstration. We happen to have the designer of this board with us today. So Rob, what can you tell us about this beautiful device?
Oh well, I can talk all night about it, obviously, as I
I
did
know.
the other night. So I'll keep it short. But basically, it fits on the clock port. It has it's like a Swiss Army board, so it has a lot of different features that it just sort of grew over time. So it can control fans. It has like a fan speed controller on there. It has temperature sensor controllers. It has a clock port splitter, buffered clock port splitter. It but the main thing it does is it can control addressable RGB LEDs. So these are the strips that you commonly get in, by PC gamer cases, with the flashy colors and stuff like that. And so what it can do is it can set patterns in motion, and you can adjust all the parameters of the patterns or upload new patterns to the board from Workbench through a bit of software that I've written to control it. So that's essentially it. It's still kind of prototypey at the moment, but it's well enough to do a couple of demos. I did a little demo on Amiga Build Show as well. It's getting close to getting finished, I think. So we'll watch this space.
My brother-in-law sent me a message saying, "Man, that light up thing inside the Amiga was really cool." So he doesn't even have an Amiga, so
Excellent.
that was cool. Yeah, very good, fair play. So so we've a link directly there to the data to Rob's YouTube page where you can see that if you haven't seen it before. It's seriously cool. I
It
want
is
one.
very cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cheers, guys.
I just have to. Yeah. Right, let's see. Oh, right. Zapped to the Past is a podcast that covers Commodore 64 games. It's just started up in February and there's a couple of episodes. It's actually really good. It's got a really nice presentation kind of format to it. There's a lovely mix of music as well. And one of the games they mentioned I hadn't heard of before, and it's called Cheer na Nog, which is an Irish myth, an Irish mythical story. So I went off and looked up this game, and the developers had actually read a lot of Irish mythology, and their games include a load of mythical characters like the She, which are sort of like miniature people who are kind of like fairies who people will tell you they don't believe in Ireland, but if they have to cut down a tree in a field that is fabled to have these fairies in them, they will not cut them down. So yeah. There's a lot of interesting stories about that, but that's for another time. So that's a rabbit hole I went down. So well, checking out Zapped to the Past podcast and Chirnanog, the computer game for Commodore 64.
To finish off the news now, we're going to have a look every month at a recent Amiga magazine. There are actually 4 magazines out in print that you can buy. They're more regional ones. I know that Poland has a load of them. But there are 4 sort of international or English language Amiga magazines you can buy all over the world and have them shipped to you. And it's just incredible that this is even a thing. Printed magazines, but there you go. So we're going to have a look at a couple of them. Or we're going to have a look at one in each podcast episode. But this month we are going to have a look at Amiga Addict. But so I got a little sort of preview of it. And one of the main things in it is a 2-page write-up on the Amiga Ireland show. The picture of me in there with my flashy LEDs, and but a good write-up of the show, and very all very positive. But it also covers a few other things. They have a really nice setup where they do sort of long interviews or long write-ups on like interviews with big people in the scene, in the community. So like last month they had big guys from DMA Design, the Lemmings guys. And this one they've got a write up on was it Dave Needle, and one of the Commodore guys from back in the day. And so they actually put there's a lot of depth in these write-ups and stuff. So it's as well as reviews of old magazines of old computer games, as well as the new ones that come out. But it's sort of present day reviews of classic games, and it's just a really great magazine to read. And so you give that a look. We'll have the link in the show notes if you want to give it a look.
Lovely stuff. Let's move on to the gaming section. Banjo Gayali, take it away. First up, Dodgy Rocks is now available in physical form. It is incarnated on phoenixware.co.uk, and it's actually the first Amiga game that they have got there, but they have created an Amiga category, so will we see more Amiga games in the future? Who knows? Between Phoenixware and Bitmapsoft, I suspect there may be more to follow.
Speaking of Dodgy Rocks, we had some crazy high scores at the Amiga Ireland event there in January. We got broke the 5-figure barrier, which is crazy altogether. I never got anywhere near that. Lucky to get near 1,000. But so we had records from FS Phil and Girolamo, who got the high score records on Normal and Nightmare. But Aris Amiga got over 10,000 points, which is it's unbelievable. So that's well done. And I believe there were copies of the game, and our little stone trophies from John were sent out there the other week. So that's it's incredible stuff, guys.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm not going to say anything. So never mind me. Okay. Luke, you can take it away there.
I'm taking it away then. So it's Turbo Sprint AGA Beta 5 released, but the game is top down, top down, like a racer, with pretty slick graphics, and it's of course AGA version, so nice colors, pretty slick. I think I remember this game from my C64, if I'm not mistaken. To be honest, from back in the day, but this version looks pretty alright, to be honest. And the good thing is, again, just like I said, AGA, so it's additional colors and playability.
Now, Worms, the director's cut AGA, has had some Space Hulk-inspired levels uploaded to Aminet for it. So if you're a fan like Rob is, there was a new theme, new background, and I don't know what else they've done for it. I haven't actually tried this yet, but it does sound great. Have you tried that, Rob?
I haven't actually. I haven't had a look at it. So I will do. This is an interesting one. Second Basque A500 gaming tournament was held there last month. This has been organised by and now I apologise if I'm pronouncing this wrong, by the Euskal Retro Association. And they played Sidearms, Mega Phoenix, Paperboy, and Zany Golf. So that's some excellent classics there. And so they sent in some photos, and I should say congratulations to Egowitz for coming first, followed by Lander, John, Darlian, and Lysandra.
Bull Run is a war game. It's a strategic game turn-based that recreates the Battle of First Bull Run, the first major battle of the American Civil War. So if you like strategic games, especially the turn-based one, why not have a look?
Another bit of hardware that was introduced or demoed at Amiga Ireland in January was this dual stick controller and it was demoed by Abstract Games. And this is a great approach to this. It's not really a problem as such, but the Amiga's always had the joystick control, and it's had extra buttons, but it hasn't had a dual stick setup in any way, shape, or form. So this is this is a great project by Ralph Egas and the guys, and he demoed it, and basically it was sort of like quite literally a game changer. He was playing the Chaos Engine and being able to run one direction while shooting in another direction, and just playing it like a modern twin stick shooter. It changes the game entirely, and it was just amazing to see this this kind of idea. So we did ask what kind of games you play, and so we got suggestions of Dynamite Ducks. Alien Breed was the one that came to me straight away. But yeah, Jiro suggested Dynamite Ducks. It's Digressive, and myself suggested Alien Breed, Total Carnage, and the Amiga show said Alien Breed 3D, which is which is another great idea. Like, because you know that
it's a good point actually. Yeah.
The like the 3D shooters and stuff like that would be very interesting with twin stick. So definitely interesting to see how all these games turn out.
Yeah, the chat was very busy when that piece happened during the show. Actually, there's a lot of excitement around that.
Absolutely,
just like your own piece. So, the guys are doing great stuff. Great stuff. Very exciting.
Right, La Baille des Morts. Forgive my pronunciation. I think it's French, if I'm not mistaken. It's a great C64 platformer with really nice graphics. I believe it's a high-res graphics, high-res resolution for C64, which doesn't happen very often. And this game is actually now available for free. So, if you haven't seen it, why not have a look? Why not play it? Why not try it? It's a very playable and very nice game for C64.
And the winners of the high score competition from Amiga Ireland 2021 have been immortalised on our website. And you can go to amigausers.ie and click on leaderboard in the menu to take a look. But in brief, Dodgy Rocks. The first person to pass 10,000 points was Aris Amiga. The winners of the Nightmare level of Dodgy Rocks in descending order were Girolamo, Litwarski, Amiga Bill and Aris Amiga. Fair play. The winners of normal mode in descending order were FS Phil and Matty. Pinball Fantasies was won by Emu Freak. Second place Aris Amiga, and Cybernetics was won by Anthony Jarvis, and Swiv was won by Litwarski. Well done, everybody. We've, as I say, we've put up a leaderboard, and we've been getting as many of the scores as we can from previous years, all the way back to 2016, actually, to pop up there. So if you have won previously at the event and you don't see your name there, get in touch at info@amigausers.ie and we'll update you.
A new game that's still not finished, but it's called Bean versus the Animator, and it's a bizarre name, but it's basically sort of a take on the arcade Terminator 2 style game. So you're kind of you got your bad guys popping up in front of you, and you click them with the mouse, and that's the way you play it. It's sort of you first person shooting but on rails kind of thing. So it looks really, really good. There's a lot of work gone into it. A lot of things like the passing in front and behind of objects and so it's just really, really nicely looks really, really good. It'll be excellent to see how that goes when it comes out. But the interesting thing is there's talk, and I don't know if it will happen, but there's talk of light gun support, which will be awesome because you really don't get that very often in an Amiga game. So watch this space.
CRT will be needed, I think, as far as I remember.
They were looking at the there's an open source one that works kind of like the Motion Plus on the Wii, so it works with accelerometers.
Oh, that's interesting then.
Yeah, there's a project for getting that and retrofitting it to old systems that need a light gun or that need a CRT, and so you can use it without a sensor bar and without a CRT. Now, this is all sort of very much in the in the future, but that's what they're working towards. So that'd be amazing.
Perfect. Right, we've got another game that is now available for free, actually. The game is called Black Dawn Rebirth, and it's a sci-fi dungeon crawler. The game was published some time ago by the Double-Sided Games, just like the previous game for C64, La Baille des Morts. So, this game looks really awesome. Even though it's been written in Amos, it's got really good playability, and the atmosphere is really, really good too. So why not have a look?
That's the end of the gaming section. Let's move on to discoveries. Well, I've been looking at language learning apps in general, not on Amiga, but by complete fluke, I was looking at something called Super Memo app, and it's available for iOS, Android, and the web. But when I went looking in their About section, it turns out it actually began its life on Amiga years ago. Absolutely amazing. So we have a link to their webpage there where you could see it for yourself. It's true. It's not fake news. And it uses the science of spaced repetition to enhance learning of languages. And it was voted Product of the Year in 1993 by Amiga magazine. Absolutely fantastic. Wow. Go and check it out.
I remember that. As far as I remember, it's a Polish program. And I remember that
That's right.
From the Polish magazine called Commodore and Amiga, CNA. Mm-hmm. Very good one. Anyway, Mark Ferrari, pixel art available as a mobile app. He did the artwork for games such as Spirit of Excalibur and Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. So, I don't know the first one, but I know Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, and the graphics is absolutely magnificent down there. So, if you like Amiga graphics, go and check it.
Oh, it's me. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I think it is. Sorry, it is. Okay. Right, a few comments. Okay, so the teenager who smuggled computers through the Iron Curtain. So this was an article I found online. Now, if you can remember Frontier Elite, when you found a solar system that sold something cheap and another that paid a lot for it, wasn't that a great feeling? You could suddenly rack up a great bit of money, put some upgrades on your ship, or maybe even upgrade the ship itself. Well, this is the true Earth-based story about a teenager from Wrocław, Tomasz Czekowicz, who discovered that the Germans could not get rid of their aging hardware fast enough, and that the Polish were eager to buy. Now, it was illegal at the time in Poland, but starting with Amiga 1000s and Commodore 64s, he basically partied his way through building an empire that now invests in the Polish technology sector today, and he's one of the wealthiest people in Poland. It's a fascinating story, and we have the link here.
Mad. There are a few of these projects floating around at the moment now, but there's a particular project we have here about recreating reverse engineering and recreating the CPUs from 8-bit Commodore machines. So it's kind of all very well known that basically a huge proportion of the 8-bit computers is based on the 6502 CPU, which is fine, and that's all well and good. But a lot of the machines, even though it's the 6502 CPU, they don't all use the exact same chip. So basically, these chips were sort of customized to suit different machines. And as a result, some of them are quite rare and therefore quite expensive. So, the VIC-20 CPU, for example, fetches a pretty high price these days, if you're looking for a replacement. So what these guys have done is they've reverse engineered the chips and the specific requirements, the specific extra instructions that some of these chips have over the others, and implemented them in an FPGA on a small circuit board that actually fits in the same space, the same socket as the original CPU. So it's basically a drop-in replacement, and it can be configured to be any of these particular CPUs. And this is great news for people with the old computers that are finding it hard to find these particularly rare CPUs. And they're, like I said, there are a lot of these projects going on. But this one in particular is very interesting in the way it's just purely a demand kind of thing. It's like but it's great. It's a whole family of CPUs that it supports.
WebDisk Writer is a tool with very small memory and CPU requirements, and it allows you to write disk images directly from the internet via HTTP to disks on your Amiga. The requirements are really small. You just need Kickstart 2.0 at least and a network stack. And almost every Amiga, I think, right now can connect to the internet. So, for example, you can use the PCMCIA cards, like a Wi-Fi one or Ethernet one. Or with Amiga 500, you can use Flipbox or ACA 500. Or if you've got a big box Amiga, you can use like a Zorro card, for example, or Ariadne or or something else, Xsurf as far as I remember. So if you're into demo scene, be sure to check that link.
Now, as I said earlier, I was looking at software to help aiding with study, things like learning languages, stuff like that. And thankfully, in the end, I did find something that runs on my classic Amiga, something called Questions 2.1, which is a flashcards-based program for learning on Amiga. Now, this runs on Workbench. It's a simple enough program that presents you with one side of your flashcard, and you have to type in the answer. There's a text-to-speech option available, which is a nice choice. The interface does look a bit dated compared to other applications, but with options such as randomizing the questions and some other things available, it does make a good study tool. Now, the real beauty of this is that making a pack of flashcards could not be easier. You just need to make a text file, and you could do this on your phone, your laptop, whatever, with pairs of words with a blank line between the pairs. No quotes, no equal signs, no syntax of any kind, just the words on their own. You don't need to know any coding, anything. And you can open it in the application and get quizzed on it straight away. So highly recommend it. Anyone who's doing a bit of studying and maybe feels like they need to spend more time with their Amiga at the same time, there you go.
Okay, we have a new shop in Toronto that's an online store for dealing with all sorts of Commodore gear. They support the 8-bits as well as the Amiga, and and so they have a lot of hardware and add-ons, adapters, all that kind of stuff. All very all the useful things that you'd hope for. Nice looking website, and decent prices as well. Now we did get a notification of this in from Frank, who said he's a long time listener, first time caller, and he can tell when someone uses an expression like that about their age, But thanks for that, Frank.
Right. Floor 13 is an Amiga game. This is a mouse-based, I presume, adventure game where you play the new head of a spy organization that has to manage a political situation. The game is actually in grayscale. The graphics looks really nice, and it's always something new, something different. Back in the day, it scored really well in the magazine reviews, so go and check it. I'm sure if you like adventure games just like me, you won't be disappointed.
And you know what? I don't think there are enough games in grayscale.
I don't think so
either. It's an awesome look, I think, and maybe we'll see some more.
Cryonics Group, a Danish Amiga group, were interviewed on TV in 1990, and the video is up on YouTube, and it is well worth a look. There's some very funny lines. One of them, a girlfriend of one of the guys being interviewed. How is it to be the girlfriend of a guy who uses so much time on computers? Her answer was, "It's annoying sometimes. You need to meet him at odd times of the day."
Oh dear.
So it's a lovely three-parter. Seeing so many Amigas in a room like that is incredible. So next then, Remute Floppy Tools Volume 1 is available, and thanks to Stormkeeper for suggesting this one. So this is mods and tracks that you can play and remix on something like PT 1210. So it's a very nice way to bypass the sampling work and the trackers and just get mixing some stuff and get into it nice and gently. A really nice idea. So you can go and just buy that floppy disk online and it will arrive to you, and you can either play the songs on it or just start messing with the mods in that app. Very cool.
Go back to the early 90s with Damon, host of Amiga Flashback, a program that remembers the tunes and the times. Nothing too serious, and totally focuses on the music that was made on the Amiga by people like you and me. It's a treasure of non-copyrighted music for your listening pleasure.
And that's according to the creators.
That's excellent, yeah.
Lovely. Right, so, and just to finish up this section of discoveries, the 1 Megabyte Club is a collective effort to assemble as many websites that are in their entirety less than 1 megabyte. So that's not just a web page, or it's not just the transfer data, but the site itself has to be less than 1 megabyte to qualify for submission. So it's 1mb.club. And if you have a website, I'm sure a lot of our Amiga sites and stuff like that would qualify. You can go there and make your submission. They do have pretty strict criteria. And they have them categorized from there's ones less than a kilobyte, less than 5 kilobytes, all the way up. So you can go check everything.
Wow.
So I had a great time. Yeah. So like I was saying, I was on the couch with 2 wisdom teeth out. I could not even concentrate on Netflix. I was in so much pain. So I had the phone out in one hand and I was flicking through all these, taking a look. And I have to say, there's some actually really good stuff. The majority of it is techie stuff, but there's also news, personal blogs, some creative writing and stuff like that. Now, one that really stood out and will work nicely for you on Workbench, even on an Amiga 1200, is called, it's a page on a site called Little Things That Made Amiga Great. Now, this was on a website called datagube.se. Well worth checking out because he's got other Amiga stuff there, such as pixel art. But this particular page is absolutely gorgeous. Little Things That Make Amiga Great. And it's an introduction to Amiga OS from 2.0 and above. And there is a lovely jargon buster in the beginning, followed by an article that's easy to understand and has some nice screenshots of the Amiga. It's really beautiful, minimalist, with nicely chosen colors and fonts. And they talk about things like AREX, the RAD disk, proportional scroll bars, resident programs. So it's really not heavy. It's not too intense. They give you just enough to let you know what everything is. A nice, quick tour. So you have to see it to appreciate it. So I'd encourage you to click on the link and have a look. It's gorgeous. And he's got, like I say, some great pixel art there as well that you can check out. So do you have a website that's less than 1 megabyte? Why not submit it, or even let us know about it, and we'd be happy to talk about it if it runs on Eyebrows.
Nice.
And that is the end of our discovery section. So let's move on to Ask Amiga.
This is about this is a question, and is what features would you say OWB needs to make it a daily driver? Now, for anyone who isn't aware, OWB is basically it's a lightweight browser that's based on WebKit, and it's basically on the next gen Amigas. Now it has since been superseded by Origin, which is which basically it's an updated version of OWB. So you actually have both of them there, but and then MorphOS has Wayfarer as well, which is an updated, an entirely new one based on WebKit as well. But they're all based on the WebKit engine, give or take, which is the same kind of rendering system that Chrome uses. So by and large, it actually, in theory, is capable of doing pretty much, all the stuff you need. But it really depends on what your daily driver means, because a lot of people kind of say, when they think about when you ask them what they want from a computer, what they want from a browser, kind of like, oh, no, nothing much, just YouTube and Facebook. And you kind of straight away you think there are 2 colossal websites that put an immense strain on a computer, and it's only that modern technology is so powerful that you don't notice it. But for a start, the video decoding will be hardware accelerated, and that's just not supported. So in Odyssey, so you usually have to, you can play it, but it's in an external player. So you click the link and it opens it in a separate little window. And that's there are ways around these things, but it's kind of, to have it integrated so you can, be scrolling through Facebook and have the embedded video playing. That's, there are little things like that are sort of missing from it. It's, and the video support would be kind of lacking as well because of the lack of hardware acceleration. So, so there are little things like that will make a difference. One of the big things as well is SSL. So this isn't really the browser as such, but it needs the AMI SSL or OpenSSL package installed, and that needs to be updated reasonably regularly to keep it in touch with modern security protocols, which are constantly changing. But another thing a browser would really need is updates, and this is something that we're basically spoilt with modern browsers, because they pretty much all update themselves automatically, whether it's through Package Manager or through your phone's update or through themselves, like Chrome and Firefox will update themselves. And it's basically, it happens almost without you noticing, but things get fixed, things get updated, new standards evolve, and websites take advantage of that. So if your browser isn't up to date and isn't updated, quite quickly you'll start to find that websites will stop working, and they say, well, either deliberately, as in, or either explicitly, as in they'll tell you that your browser's too old and it's no longer supported, so you can't use this and that feature, or things will start to break, and overlays won't get loaded in the right place, and things start to go awry. And these are the kind of things that happen when your browser just isn't fully up to date. Now, the problem with OWB and Origin, and potentially Wayfarer as well, is that there just is an awful lot of work involved in that. And these are all sort of 1 or 2 man projects or 1 or 2 person projects, and it's just not feasible. So some of them, like I think Odyssey, the latest version is from 3 years ago. I think OWB is 2013 or something like that. So they're you're getting to be a bit out of date. So even if they technically support the standards, you're going to have little issues here and there that might not be fixed, or might render a website unusable. But by and large, they are usable for a lot of stuff. The average things. The bleeding edge stuff, or I call it bleeding edge stuff, but things like Google Docs and stuff, you're probably going to struggle with. Microsoft Office 365 won't play ball either. These are the kind of things that you really need to have a completely up to date browser with all the latest stuff in it, and to be able to obviously pretend to be another browser, to spoof as another browser, to get some of these things, trick some of these sites into working. But yeah, you really need to be bang up to date, and that's just not feasible in such a small a small pool as the Amiga or the next gen Amiga pool. So the last thing you really need, and this is kind of just to pile on all the other stuff, is it's just raw horsepower. And the thing is that, again, the modern web, you kind of think of it's nothing to it. It loads instantly. Pages just they're very snappy. Scrolling is near instant. Loading is near instant. All this kind of stuff is going on. But web browsing and web browsers, as a result, are huge beasts. They lend themselves to. There's a lot of stuff going on, which means they lend themselves to multiple threads, and therefore multiple CPUs or multiple cores on your CPU. So even on your phone, you've probably got a 4-core, 6-core, 8-core CPU in there, and so you've got one that's dealing with the encryption, 1 or 2 that are decoding the images, one that's recalculating the layout every time something changes, and one concentrating on your input. And so all these things are going on at the same time. There's no Amiga implementation that really does multi CPU stuff like that. So, or multi-core support like that. It just isn't doable on the current versions of the OS. So so what happens is everything's basically queued up on one CPU core or the one CPU, and that slows it down. And in addition to that, all of these CPUs are getting a bit long in the tooth now as well. So like the fastest Amiga type machine I have is my other than WinUE, that kind of thing, is my iBook G4, which is a 1.3 gigahertz machine. But Wayfarer on that still feels slow and clunky, and it's only because I'm used to running Chrome or Chromium or Firefox on a machine that runs at about 3 gigahertz with 8 cores. And it's a huge difference. It's not just about the gigahertz. Like, if you have a 1 gigahertz 4-core machine, that will outpace that 1.3 gigahertz 1-core machine quite easily. And with browsing, and it'll feel much snappier. So, unfortunately, to run as a daily driver, unless you're doing pretty undemanding stuff, it's not going to be comfortable. It'll work, but you're going to find it slow and clunky. But for the occasional use, like if you go downloading stuff and looking up occasional things, looking up documentation, and finding data sheets, which is kind of what I do a lot of on it. it does actually work very well. And you Google something, and things feel a bit slower and stuff like that, but it's fine. But there's the really heavy web pages where you're going to get bogged down, and like I say, unless you run out of RAM, which is definitely possible as well, because some websites are just huge. It'll get there eventually, but it'll just be it won't be a great experience. So
Yeah, that's really thorough. Thanks for that, Rob. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know about you, Luke, but for me, what I would need from a web browser to make it worth say, like I'd love to say have a next gen Amiga with a solid browser, and the things I would need is the kind of the online office stuff that people are using, and sometimes email. I need to be able to log into those. Online banking would be
Online
important.
banking, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's again a
that kind of
SSL
stuff.
thing that
Yeah.
has to be like updated on a regular basis. You were talking about iBook G4, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that G5 Power Mac 2.3 or maybe 2. I think there's a version of 2.7. So on that sort of a machine, it sort of works pretty alright. I'm talking about Wayfarer, because iBook is just it is just too slow. The requirements, the minimum requirements that Yata suggests are the G4 1.5, at least 1 gigabyte of RAM, and 64 megabytes of graphics card. So he said 1.5 is the like a pure like a bare minimum. So
absolutely, and
so I think on a regular basis, if you want to use it, like on your next generation Amiga, it has to be like at least G5 or Amiga X1000 or X5000.
And and like you say, then you're only just approaching kind of what you consider acceptable.
The
multi-core makes a huge difference to browsing.
Absolutely, and just like I said, he's working on it on the Wayfarer on its own. I think for the most of the time, I think there are 2 people also helping him with a lot of stuff too. I think it's Bigfoot, and then there's this guy that wrote Blitzkick. What's his name? Piru. Yeah. So from what I've heard recently, there was an interview with Yata regarding MorphOS and the Wayfarer. So there you go. You have to have raw power. Other than that, it's just very difficult. He said from the interview that I heard, he said that actually Facebook, Twitter are the most demanding sites in the internet themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd well believe that.
They are so bloated,
Yeah, they're doing so much stuff like sort of loading videos in advance,
yes,
loading imagery,
that's
and
right.
Constant toing and froing. They're constantly updating the page. It's crazy.
Yeah, not to mention advertisements as well.
Just while you're on that subject, so I mentioned earlier the 1 megabyte club, and on there is a Twitter interface called Knitter, and you can go in there, and it gives you a very lightweight, minimalist
That's
interface
the way to go.
to Twitter. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice and light and fast.
Yeah, I know from my own machine here, for the Wayfarer is one thing, but on OS4, the Facebook is usable if you go to the mobile site, and a lot of things do automatically directly to the mobile site actually at this stage, rather than the full site. But yeah, one of the key things is the updates, because Google Docs worked for a while and then it just stopped working because it just wasn't supported anymore. It was slow, but it worked. But yeah, basically before you've loaded the full page of the original Facebook, you've run out of RAM, and that's it. Like, so if you can use a minimal version of a website, that's a good way of working around these problems.
Okay, that's great. That's great. That's really interesting. Right, that's it for today. We'll see you in a month's time with our next load of news and stuff like that. I hope you're all keeping safe and well.
Music was by...
Until next time.
Until next time, music was by Virtual Dimensions and Banjo Gaioli.
Feel free to get in touch at info@amigausers.ie.
The show, as always, was edited by Anthony Jarvis. And the song of the month...
Son of a month.
The song of the month won first place at the Amiga Ireland 2021 Creative Competition by Punic, and this is called How Do They Do That? Congrats again to Punic on winning first place, and we'll see you all in a month's time. Bye-bye.
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 They do that. They do that.
The show, as always, is edited. The show, as always... The show, as always, was edited by Anthony Jarvis. I better start that again.